Now, in this clashing of stories, Melody had found herself holding a child, one that needed love and protection. She couldn't deny that nothing could ever truly replace what had been taken away from her. But then again, could anything truly replace one's own true parents? The love of a family that you truly belong to. If anything, this child seems to have lost just as much as she has. It's true, Melody thought to herself. I deserve to have something back, and this child deserves to have something back from what it has lost. Yes, little one, she said, staring down at the small child. We are each other's salvation, aren't we? You needed me just as I need you. Neither of us have to be alone when it seems so obvious that regardless of the reason, I was meant to come here. Perhaps that's why I was chased away from my home, because destiny knew that you, little one, needed someone to protect you, someone to stay the hand of a monster who would take your life. And now, we are together, and that's how it's going to stay, isn't it, little one? She said as the child played with her fingers gently. Now, I really must find a name for you. I don't believe little one will do. No, I suppose it will come when the moment is right. Until then, I need to find somewhere safe that I can take care of you, Melody said as she began to look around at her surroundings, down to the monstrous man lying on the ground. Being as gentle as she could with the child, she went about searching the man, trying to find if he had anything of use, something that might perhaps help her. She had basically left everything behind, and truly had nothing to her name but the clothes on her back. The man, of course, had a dagger, which she had no problem taking. It was a much better fit than a butter knife for self-defense. The magic spell she used to slay him is effective, yes, but its effects, its power, also stem from the strength of the weapon that it is imbued upon. As such, while one might be able to produce a blade with a butter knife, the strength and ease of using the spell with an actual blade is far superior. The small myriad of other spells that she had might prove useful. She was a little bit out of practice. It had been a very long time since she had truly used her magic on any sort of a regular basis. But she supposed that she could simply get some more practice in. She would need to, as the circumstances she now found herself in were difficult. Every advantage she could gain would only work to her benefit all the more, she thought as she rifled through the man's possessions. She gathered his clothing, seeming to be made of a fairly fine material. It might be useful in making clothing of her own, and clothing for the child if need be. Diapers, perhaps. She also found on his possession a small bag containing an assortment of valuables, strange gold coins, not a large amount of them, and they seemed to be currency from a place that she's simply unfamiliar with, having strange symbols on them that she couldn't read, even though it looked clear that they were writing. But gold is gold all the same. Once it's melted down, its weight will prove more than valuable enough. It had a few small gems contained within it as well. Valuable stones were also a good commodity to have. It might prove useful if she needed to pass through a settlement or town and trade for goods or supplies. And it was at that point that Melody came across a necklace, one that was unlike a regular necklace, affixed with a strange gem, glowing with a vibrant flurry of lights within it. It was clear that this possessed some sort of a magical nature. However, she was far from rich, and while her family did practice magic, the possession of magical artifacts was an extremely hard thing to come by. She didn't know what the gem did, but it could prove useful all the same, or valuable if nothing else. So she pocketed the gem, along with the necklace it hung upon. After taking what valuables the man had, or anything that could be useful, Melody stood up, beginning to try to find a direction. She had been running for a great deal of time and was very tired. Soon enough, she would have to stop whether she wanted to or not. And this child was not going to care for itself. Caring for a child would only increase the difficulty of survival. Her magic powers would ease that burden, but still it would not be easy, especially with no shelter. She needed somewhere safe for her and her new child. As she took stock of her surroundings, through a small clearing in the trees, she could see in the distance the peak of a nearby mountain. It was one which could be seen from many different villages, but as the terrain was rough and creatures there dangerous, few ever dared tread there. That might be perfect, she thought to herself. It's secluded. People don't really travel there, at least none that she knows of. And a mountain could have caves or rock formations that could help provide shelter, at least until she could build a suitable one. And so, Melody took off, beginning to make a healthy stride towards the direction of that mountain, hoping to find some measure of safety there from the villagers who might pursue her. Hopefully, she's already put more than enough distance that they would simply lose interest, believing that she's gone away and no longer their problem. So, Melody spent the better part of the rest of the night traveling towards that mountain. But eventually, as she had been traveling for some time, she had to stop and rest. She was simply becoming far too exhausted, and traveling through another day would simply be too much. Luckily for Melody, she did have a simple spell of protection, something that would create a sort of barrier. Not a powerful one, but one that normal people couldn't easily pass through, and dangerous animals as well would be hindered from attempting to creep up on her in her sleep. That was a situation she most definitely did not want. It took her about 20 minutes to finish the spell, waving her finger around, scrawling, as if she were writing with a pen, the glow of green light emanating from the tip of her finger, as waves of magic filled the area, spreading out and beginning to coalesce into a barrier that soon vanished from sight, unseen, but still there all the same. The child she held in her grasp had fallen asleep. After the experience it must have had, it must have grown very tired itself. I suppose being kidnapped would be a taxing enough experience for anyone, Melody thought as she sat down, kneeling against a tree. The child began to cry as it woke up. It was most likely hungry, Melody thought to herself. Once again, you are a very lucky little child, aren't you? Melody said, smiling down at it. I was, after all, a mother. So you are in luck, little one. You will not go hungry on this night." So Melody cradled the child tightly, stroking its head gently as she fed the child and tried as best she could to get some sleep herself. Strangely enough, the warmth of the child was comforting to her, letting her feel as if she was not alone, letting her know that she was needed. And for the first time in a fair while, Melody actually felt a sense of peace within herself, a sense of happiness, and eventually found herself falling restfully to sleep.